Dark secrets were hiding in plain sight at Nevermore Academy, and most viewers didn't even notice them. From suspicious glances to background details that seemed ordinary, Wednesday, Season 1 was filled with clues pointing to shocking twists. The murder mystery that gripped the school wasn't just about solving one crime. It was about pulling apart a web of lies that stretched back years. Every scene carried hints about who could be trusted and who was wearing a mask. And if you look closely, the answers were there all along. Wednesday Addams arrived at Nevermore Academy with a reputation for trouble and a sharp mind that never missed a detail. She was sent there after a dangerous prank at her old school. But it didn't take long for her to realize that Nevermore wasn't a safe haven, it was a place full of secrets. From the moment she stepped through the gates, she was surrounded by students with strange abilities, teachers who seemed to be hiding something, and a town full of grudges. But Wednesday wasn't the type to blend in. She made it her mission to dig into the strange events that started almost immediately after her arrival. The first major shock came when Rowan, one of the students, died in the woods, or so it seemed. He tried to attack Wednesday after showing her a mysterious page from an old book, claiming she was destined to destroy the school. But before she could process what was happening, a monster appeared and killed Rowan. The next day, Rowan was suddenly alive and walking around campus claiming nothing had happened. This early event set the tone for the whole season. Things weren't always what they seemed, and reality could twist at any moment. Wednesday's visions became another important tool in uncovering the truth. Whenever she touched certain objects or people, she would see flashes of past or future events. At first, these visions were confusing and unreliable, but over time they began to point her toward the identity of the Hyde, the terrifying creature responsible for multiple attacks. Her visions also connected her to an unsolved mystery from the past involving a woman named Laurel Gates, whose family had been enemies of the Addamses for generations. Life at Nevermore wasn't just about solving murders. Wednesday had to navigate living with her colorful and overly friendly roommate, Enid Sinclair, a werewolf who hadn't yet transformed. Their personalities clashed. Enid loved bright colors, loud music, and gossip, while Wednesday preferred silence, black clothes, and solitude. Yet, as the season went on, their friendship became one of the most heartfelt parts of the story. This bond was important, not only for Wednesday's growth, but also as a clue to how she would solve the case. The Raven dance was one of the most talked about moments of the season. While the other students dressed in flashy outfits, Wednesday appeared in her iconic black dress and delivered an unforgettable dance that became a symbol of her individuality. But even this fun night turned dark when the dance was interrupted by a cruel prank involving fake blood dumped over everyone. What seemed like a mean-spirited joke later turned out to be another distraction, pulling attention away from the real danger stalking the school grounds. Meanwhile, Wednesday's relationships with the two main male characters, Tyler Galpin and Xavier Thorpe, took center stage in the mystery. Tyler seemed like a charming and supportive ally, someone who understood Wednesday's dark humor and even helped her investigate. Xavier, on the other hand, was mysterious, brooding, and constantly under suspicion due to his visions and strange behavior. But the show sprinkled hints that Tyler might not be as innocent as he appeared. Small glances, sudden changes in mood, and moments where he conveniently appeared after an attack. By the time Wednesday started to connect the dots, the pieces of the puzzle were already falling into place. The monster attacks, the reappearance of Rowan, the visions about Laurel Gates, and the odd behavior of certain townspeople all pointed to a larger conspiracy. The season built its tension by keeping viewers questioning everyone, even the characters, who seemed harmless. And while the answers didn't fully come until the finale, the first half of Season 1 laid the groundwork with carefully planted clues, making it clear that nothing in Nevermore was a coincidence. Wednesday's sharp mind and fearless attitude made her a natural detective, but the real strength of Season 1 was how every character around her had their own secrets, growth, and hidden motives. From the start, it was clear that each person in her orbit was more than what they seemed. As the mystery deepened, the show quietly slipped in hints about who could be trusted and who was playing their own game. These character arcs didn't just add emotional depth, They carried clues that pointed directly toward the shocking finale. Wednesday herself began the season as an outsider, someone convinced that emotional attachments were a weakness. She kept her walls high, her tone cold, and her focus entirely on solving the case. But little by little, cracks began to show in her armor. Her friendship with Enid, though rocky at first, became one of the most important relationships in the series. The clues here weren't about the murders, but about Wednesday's ability to care for someone else, something that would influence her decisions in dangerous moments. Enid's own journey, from a bubbly werewolf who couldn't volf out to a confident young woman who finally embraced her power, mirrored the theme of hidden potential. The show quietly teased her eventual transformation with subtle comments, glances at the moon, and moments where her frustration was just below the surface. When she finally did transform, it wasn't just a payoff for her story, it was a game-changing moment in the fight against the Hyde. Tyler Galpin's arc was perhaps the most deceptive of all. At first, he was the friendly coffee shop worker, who offered Wednesday rides, listened to her theories, and even seemed to share a mutual attraction. But scattered through the season were small cracks in his mask, a flash of anger when someone mentioned his mother, a tense reaction when the Hyde attacks were brought up, and a few too-perfect coincidences where he appeared right after chaos struck. The show even played with audience expectations, making Tyler appear to be the safe choice compared to Xavier, who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Looking back, these moments weren't just red flags, they were flashing neon signs of his true nature as the Hyde. Xavier Thorpe's story was built on suspicion. As an artist whose drawings could come to life, he had the skill, the moodiness, and the connection to the victims that made him a perfect suspect in the eyes of both Wednesday and the audience. Yet the writers dropped constant reminders that he was being framed. His defensive behavior was less about guilt and more about frustration. He knew he was innocent, but no one believed him. The tension between Xavier and Wednesday became another layer of the mystery, especially when she used his trust to gather clues, only to realize later that she had misjudged him. Other side characters also carried important pieces of the puzzle. Principal Weems, with her shape-shifting ability, often acted like she knew more than she was saying. Her protective attitude toward Nevermore was admirable, but her secrecy sometimes made her look suspicious. Bianca Barkley, the Siren Queen Bee of the school, started as an antagonist, but slowly revealed vulnerabilities and even aided Wednesday when the stakes got high. Her siren abilities also hinted at the theme of deception. Voices can lie, appearances can be false, and trust can be dangerous. And then there was the looming shadow of Laurel Gates. The townsfolk spoke of her as a tragic figure, presumed dead, whose family history was steeped in hatred for outcasts. But little hints, old family photos, local gossip, and an unusual interest from certain characters pointed toward the shocking truth that Laurel was alive and hiding in plain sight. The beauty of this setup was that even the warm, seemingly helpful people in Wednesday's world weren't above suspicion. The brilliance of Season 1's character arcs is that they doubled as roadmaps to the mystery's solution. Tyler's charm, Xavier's defensiveness, Enid's growth, Biancang's shifting loyalties, all of them were pieces of a larger game. By watching the people closely, the audience could have pieced together the truth before the finale. But with so many layers of misdirection, it was easy to get caught up in the surface drama and miss the hidden signs that the answers were right in front of us. One of the most impressive elements of Wednesday Season 1 was how it used symbolism and visual storytelling to hide clues in plain sight. This wasn't just a mystery told through dialogue, it was a puzzle woven into the colors, props, and tiny background details that many viewers might have overlooked. Every shot seemed to carry meaning, and the way the show layered its imagery made it possible to sense danger before the characters even knew it was coming. By paying close attention to these visual cues, the truth about the Hyde, Laurel Gates, and Nevermore Academy's dark history could be spotted long before the finale revealed it. Color played one of the most important roles in this visual storytelling. Wednesday's black and white wardrobe, a signature of her character, stood out sharply against Nevermore's colorful world. This contrast symbolized her status as an outsider and her refusal to conform, but the show cleverly used color changes to signal emotional shifts or hidden dangers. For example, in moments where Wednesday began to soften, especially in scenes with Enid, you might notice warmer lighting, or a softer shade in the background, hinting at cracks in her emotional walls. On the other hand, the presence of deep, shadowy blues and greens often preceded scenes connected to the Hyde, creating a subconscious link between the color palette. And the lurking monster? Props were another major clue delivery system. The old book that Rowan showed Wednesday in episode 1 wasn't just a plot device, it was a visual foreshadowing of the entire season's conflict. The drawing of a girl resembling Wednesday in the middle of chaos hinted at her central role in the coming events, while the flames surrounding her suggested that destruction would follow her investigations. Even the stained glass window in Nevermore's library was layered with meaning. Its intricate designs often framed Wednesday during important discoveries, subtly placing her in the center of the school's history and secrets. Symbolic animals appeared throughout the season, with ravens and crows being the most obvious. They weren't just Gothic decoration, they represented omens and the link to Wednesday's psychic visions. Every time a raven appeared before a major event, it was the show's way of whispering that something significant was about to happen. In one scene, a raven perches just outside the window moments before Wednesday has a vision that brings her closer to the Hyde's identity. Similarly, the taxidermy animals in the sheriff's office, while unsettling, were symbolic of Tyler's hidden nature, a predator disguised as something harmless, frozen in a pose that hides its true instinct. Costume design also carried hidden messages. Enid's bright, rainbow-colored clothing wasn't just about personality, it symbolized her unawakened potential. In early episodes, her colors were vibrant but scattered, almost chaotic. As the story progressed and she grew more confident, her outfits became more balanced, signaling her journey toward transformation. In contrast, Bianca's sleek, aquatic-inspired wardrobe reinforced her siren identity with shimmering blues and metallic tones hinting at her ability to manipulate perception. Principal Weem's attire often matched the school's decor, visually blending her into the institution she was trying so hard to protect, but also making her harder to read as an individual, another layer of visual misdirection. Even the Raven dance sequence, which became one of the most iconic scenes of the season, was rich with symbolism, and the monochrome theme of the dance matched Wednesday's aesthetic, turning what should have been a night of blending in for her into a moment where she still stood apart. The choreography itself, while quirky and fun, carried an almost defiant energy, as if she was rejecting the expectations of everyone around her. The sudden flood of red liquid at the end of the dance wasn't just a prank. It visually foreshadowed the bloodshed and danger that would dominate the rest of the season. The town of Jericho also contributed to the visual storytelling. Its quaint, colonial-style buildings and seemingly wholesome exterior masked a deep history of prejudice against outcasts. This was reflected in small details like the Pilgrim World tourist attraction, which served as a cheerful cover for a violent, oppressive past. By showing the town as picture-perfect on the surface, the show reinforced its central theme: appearances are deceiving, and danger often hides beneath the most charming smiles. The way Wednesday used symbolism wasn't just for style, it was a second layer of the mystery itself. Viewers who caught these visual cues could sense the truth before the characters did, from Tyler's hidden aggression to Laurel Gates' carefully disguised identity. By making these clues part of the scenery, the show rewarded sharp-eyed fans and encouraged rewatching, knowing that every shadow, color, and prop had a purpose. The final moments of Wednesday Season 1 left viewers with as many questions as answers, making it clear that the story was far from over. The main mystery of the Hyde was solved, but the finale opened the door to even bigger threats and deeper secrets. One of the most chilling moments came when Wednesday received that mysterious text message from an unknown number. The sender knew personal details about her life and even had a photo of her with Tyler clear proof that someone had been watching her closely. The text wasn't just a casual threat, it was a promise that her problems were only beginning. The identity of this stalker is one of the biggest unanswered questions heading into Season 2. Could it be a surviving ally of Laurel Gates? Another student or teacher at Nevermore with a hidden agenda? Or perhaps an entirely new villain pulling strings from the shadows? Then there's the question of Tyler's fate. The last time we saw him, he was chained up in a transport van, still in his human form, but his final shot showed him transforming into the Hyde. This means two things. First, that he hasn't lost his monstrous abilities, and second, that he may not be as captured as everyone thinks. If Tyler escapes, will he be driven by revenge against Wednesday? Or could someone else control him and use his power for their own plans? His relationship with his father, Sheriff Galpin, also feels unresolved. The sheriff's denial about his son's crimes was suspiciously strong, leaving fans to wonder if he knew more than he admitted. Another lingering mystery is whether Laurel Gates is truly gone. Her death in the finale was quick and lacked a kind of finality that most Wednesday villains might deserve. Given how resourceful she was successfully hiding her identity as Marilyn Thornhill for so long, it wouldn't be impossible for her to have planned an escape or left behind a network of allies. If she returns, she could shift her focus from direct attacks to psychological games, targeting Wednesday's friends to weaken her resolve. The state of Nevermore Academy is another open thread. With Principal Weems dead, the school has lost one of its strongest protectors. This leaves a power vacuum, and whoever steps into that role could change the direction of the school entirely. Will the new headmaster embrace Weems' cautious approach to protecting the outcasts, or will they be more ruthless in dealing with threats? And what if the new leadership has their own hidden agenda? Nevermore's history has proven that danger doesn't just come from the outside, it can grow inside its walls. Enid's transformation into a full werewolf at the end of the season also raises questions. Now that she has embraced her power, what role will she play in protecting Nevermore? Her friendship with Wednesday is stronger than ever, but that bond could be tested if their paths diverge. Similarly, Xavier's new closeness to Wednesday might create its own complications, especially if lingering feelings get in the way of clear judgment. The show has already proven it thrives on tension between alliances and betrayals, so it's possible Season 2 could push these relationships into new and unexpected territory beyond personal conflicts. There's a bigger mystery about the world outside Nevermore. Season 1 hinted at other supernatural communities and hinted that the outcast world is much larger than the students at the academy. Could Season 2 introduce new schools, rival factions, or even a council of supernatural leaders? If Nevermore becomes the center of a larger battle for power, Wednesday's role could grow far beyond the walls of the school. And, of course, the biggest prediction for Season 2 lies in how Wednesday will evolve. She began Season 1 as someone who preferred working alone, convinced that emotions were weaknesses. By the end, she had friends she cared about and people she wanted to protect. This emotional growth could be both her greatest strength and her biggest vulnerability. Enemies who understand her new attachments could use them against her. The mysterious stalker seems to already know this, which makes the threat even more personal. The ending of Season 1 was less about closure and more about setting the stage for a bigger, darker, and more dangerous story. If the first season was about Wednesday finding her place in Nevermore and proving herself as a detective, Season 2 could be about her learning the cost of being one. New enemies, old grudges, and unresolved betrayals will all come into play, and the clues to those future twists may already be hidden in what we've seen. The only thing that's certain is that Wednesday Addams won't back down from the challenge.